So today we're going to cover multiple transformations. So in other words, we're going to combine all those different types of transformations that we've covered in the last couple days here and put them all together in a couple real quick examples. Now, here's how it's going to work. Again, with these transformation questions, it's really important that you focus on the order that they ask you to do the transformations in, right? So in other words, if they're saying to do the transformations in a certain order, you have to perform them in that order. Anyway, let's get started here. So we're going to look at combining all those types of transformations today. I'll run through a few examples. The key idea is to make sure you're performing the transformations in the order they're asked. So just like I just said. All right, anyway, so like literally it's just going to be like 2 examples today because again, there's a lot of steps to them, of course, but hopefully it's not too revolutionary for us. Before we get started on this though, I just want to remind us about how to do rotations, because rotations, out of all the types of transformations we looked at, and again, just by the way, the types of transformations we saw were translations, that's moving things left, right, up, down, reflections, so crossing it across either the x-axis or the y-axis, and dilations. Dilations, of course, are making things bigger or smaller, but then there's rotations, which again are the toughest of the whole bunch. This is where you're actually rotating around the origin. The origin, of course, is the point 0, 0. So anyway, I asked you to jot this down in your notes before. Hopefully you did, because again, this is going to be super useful. There's 3 different kinds of rotations we'll ask you to do: 90-degree clockwise, 180-degree clockwise, and 270 degrees clockwise. So all these rotations we're asking are clockwise. If you were to go counterclockwise, you just have to understand that a 90-degree clockwise rotation is a 270-degree counterclockwise rotation. 180 degrees clockwise is the same thing as 180 degrees counterclockwise, but 270 degrees clockwise is 90 degrees counterclockwise. So it's really important to understand that you can convert between a clockwise and a counterclockwise rotation. They're just kind of like flips of each other. That's all, right? Anyway, so if you were doing a 90-degree clockwise rotation, you change your x-coordinate sign from either a positive to a negative or a negative to a positive, and then you swap your x and y. So if you wanted it in more of a mathematical way, see how we swapped our x and our y? We just made the original x value negative. So that's going to make our y value negative in comparison. Now, when I say it's making it negative, what I really should say is you're timesing it by -1, because if you already had an initial x and y that were already negative, then that original x is going to turn from a negative to a positive and then switch around, okay? 180-degree clockwise, that one's a little easier. You basically just flip the sign of both your x and your y, right? So if x was negative and y was negative, then you turn them positive, or vice versa, right? Now, 270-degree clockwise is very much like your 90-degree clockwise, except you make your y coordinate sign negative or positive if it was already negative, and then you swap, right? So it's pretty much the same idea. It's just, you know, flipped around. Again, these are really hard to remember. Like, these are really hard just to memorize. So it's a good idea to have these copied down somewhere so that when you're doing these questions, you can just look right at this table and go, okay, what do I have to do? And then you can go to it. Anyway, here's the first of 2 questions that we're going to do here. For the given shape, perform the following transformations. We're going to do a 270-degree clockwise rotation, down 5 units and right 3 units. Now, remember what I said at the beginning today, you have to do these in that order. And another thing just to note, I didn't mention it today, but I mentioned it in the last lesson, it's always a good idea to do this 1 coordinate at a time. On this shape, unfortunately, with like an arrow, we've got a lot of coordinates we've got to worry about here. Like there's quite a few to deal with. I'm going to start, because I like kind of making my life as easy as possible. I'm going to start with the really obvious ones, like this one and this one, and this one and this one, and then of course this one. You could also do these ones, like these little corner parts on this arrow, but I'm kind of lazy, not gonna lie. So I'm gonna try not to do that, but if I have to, then I have to, and that's just the way it goes. But let's see what we can do here. It's a good idea just to label these. Again, it really doesn't matter which one's what letter, but I'll say this is A, B, C, D, and E. And we'll do each of these 1 step at a time. So I'll tell you what, we're actually going to draw 3 additional shapes here, and it's just this final one where we do the right 3 units. That's going to be our final answer. But I will draw a few different shapes as we go through it, just so we can keep track of what we're doing. So in red, I'm going to draw this one, a 270-degree clockwise rotation. Remember, 270-degree clockwise rotation, I can bounce back for you. You make your y coordinate negative, where you just flip the sign of it, and then you swap your x and your y. So that's what we're going to have to focus on here. So let's first look at A. Notice A's coordinate is 2, 5, right? So A, I'll even write it up here. A is 2, 5. Make your y coordinate negative, so we have -5 there, and then we swap them. So in other words, A prime is going to equal negative 5, 2. So negative 5, 2, that would bring us to right here. So there's my A prime. Good. Now we'll worry about B. B is 4, let's see, what is that? 4, 6. So B prime is make your y negative and switch them around. So negative 6, 4. So negative 6, 4 puts us here. So hopefully we're kind of seeing what the shape is going to start looking like. I'm hoping it's going to take a much clearer appearance pretty soon here, but we'll find out. I'm running out of room up here, so I'm going to start erasing my previous work. That's fine. It's just as I go, I'll just have like a little work area up there. C originally was, what is that? That is 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 4. Okay, so 6, 4. That's going to tell me C prime is going to be make the y negative, so negative and bring it over, so negative 4, 6. So negative 4, 6, that brings us to negative 4. There we go, and then up 6. That brings us to there. Now I'm starting to get a better look at how my shape is. I don't think we'll even have to worry about these little inner corner ones here, but let's try D now. Again, I'll erase B. D's coordinate looks like it's 4, 2, which means D prime is going to equal negative 2, 4. Again, I made the y negative and then swap the x and the y. So negative 2, 4 brings us to here. And then last but not least, we'll do E. E's coordinate is 2, 3, which means we have E prime is negative 3, 2. So negative 3, 2 brings us to here. Now, I don't know about you, but personally, I can look at this and say, okay, remember B, C, and D were kind of all part of the arrowhead. I can see the outline of my shape right now, so I don't have to do these little inner corner ones. So I can just now draw my shape right along here. Doesn't have to be super perfect, but just as long as you get the idea. So the arrow is now pointing upwards in this quadrant over here. So that one's done. Now I'm going to change color just so we don't get really screwed up here. I'm going to do the next one in, let's say, blue here. We're going to go down 5 units. Now, of course, a translation, those are usually pretty easy, at least in comparison to a rotation. Just move each of your units down. And I just realized now I never even labeled my other ones like B prime, C prime. At this point, I think we're fine. I'm not even like write down my coordinates because I think we can quite simply move each of these down. So I'm going to move this one down 5, moving that one down 5 is going to bring us here. I'm going to move this one down 5, that's going to bring us here. This one can go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that puts us here. This one goes down 5, I think you can already see it's just going to be here and there, right? So then I'll redraw that. There we go. Right, awesome. Now, in case you're wondering, it is a really good idea to always draw each successive step, right? So keep drawing them as you go through it. I know it might seem redundant. I know it might just seem like you're wasting time, but it is a really good habit to get into because then you're less likely to make any mistakes. All right, last one here, we want to go right 3 units. So I'm going to do this one and yet again a different color. Move each point right 3 units. So I'll move this one right 3 units. That's going to put it right there. This one is going to go here. This one is going to go here. This one is going to go 1, 2, 3. It's going to go right there. And this one, 1, 2, 3. It's going to go here. So as our final answer, my shape is going to look like that. So in other words, this is my final answer, right? So as long as you make it really clear which one is your final, maybe I could even like point to it right there. Good. As long as you make it really clear which one's your final answer, you're good to go. If you really want, on a page, you could use a pencil and just lightly draw each of these, like very lightly draw them. And then when you're all done and you have your final one, you can like erase everything else. So we're all back to square one. That makes it even better, right? So if you want to do that, go for it. Oh, I missed some blue right here. If you want to do that, go for it. I'm not going to mandate it, just as long as you make sure that it's really clear which one's your final answer. All right, so we're only going to do one more question. Like I kind of was saying, it's like, really, there's not too much to do with this. There's nothing new here. For the given triangle, perform the following transformations. 1 unit to the left, 2 units up, rotate 90 degrees clockwise, and then reflect across the y-axis. So we got more transformations we're doing on this one, but it's the same general idea. In the first one here, I'll do 1 unit to the left. So I'll do that one in green. Everything 1 to the left, that's going to be pretty simple. A is going to go here, C is going to go here, and B is going to go there. So I'll redraw my triangle using that transformation. Okay, so that one was done. That was pretty straightforward. Now I'm going to change color. How about I'm going to use purple for the next one? 2 units up. Here we go, 2 units up. Well, it's going to move this point here. This point's going to go here. And this point is going to go here. See how I'm just drawing each successive step? Again, my side length, that's pretty awful. Like again, my hand is not steady on this trackpad, but you get the idea. It doesn't have to be perfect, especially when it's like just your work as you're going through. All right, next one, rotate 90 degrees clockwise. Here's where it gets challenging. I'm gonna do this one in blue. Rotating 90-degree clockwise, remember what that is. If we look back a couple slides ago, I'm not going to, but if you look back a couple slides ago, you'd see you have to make your x coordinate negative and then swap your x and your y. So here's what we'll do. This point down here is technically A double prime. This point over here is B double prime, and this one over here is C double prime. So let's list these out. A double prime is currently 0, 3. Now, by the rules of a 90-degree clockwise rotation, you make x negative, so we have to make it negative 0, which is still just 0, and then you swap your x and your y. So A triple prime is going to be 3, 0. So 3, 0, that would be this point right here. I've just now done my 90-degree clockwise rotation on this A double prime point right here. Now, let's do B double prime. B double prime was 4, 3. Now, if we're going to do B triple prime, make your x negative, so that's going to be negative 4, and then swap your x and your y, so it'll be 3, negative 4. So 3, negative 4, that moves it down there. Then I'll do C, of course. So C, just going to erase this. C double prime was, what was that? That was 2, 6. So that means C triple prime is going to be, make the x negative and then swap them, 6, negative 2. So 6, negative 2, that puts it just down there. And then of course I can connect, ooh, that was bad. Then I can connect my dots and we're good to go. So at this point now, this one's all done, we're good to go here. But the last step here is it's saying reflect across the y-axis. So once again, I'll choose a different color. I'll go back to red. Reflect across the y-axis is going to be my final answer. The y-axis, of course, is this vertical one right here. When you're reflecting across an axis, you're basically just drawing your points an equal distance across on the other side from what you're reflecting across. So in other words, look at how far each of your points are from your y-axis. I'm going to start with this point right here. I think that's like our A already. I forgot to label them, but whatever. So we're 3 units away from that y-axis. So if we're going to reflect across the y-axis, we need to be 3 units on the other side. So we're going to put that one there. Now for this one, same idea, it's 3 units across. So we're going to move that one 3 units away from it on the other side. So it's there. And this one is 6 units away from your y-axis. So we have to move it 6 units away on the other side. So we're going to move it there. Bottom line is, we now have our triangle drawn like so. So this one is our final. So if we want to point final here and final there, that would be our final answer. And again, if you really wanted to, if you wanted to draw these in pencil very lightly, you can now go back and erase all of your old work, just so it's really clear what your true final answer is. There we go. Now there is no debate. Clearly, that one is your final answer. That's it. We're done for today. So what I want you to do is I want you to get some of that essential practice, page 242 to 251. The rest of the week is going to be pretty straightforward to you. I'm going to provide you a lot of time to get the homework assignment done. And our unit exam for this is actually not scheduled until next Monday. So you got quite an easy week ahead of you. You'll have a lot of time to get caught up on things. As always, though, if you have any questions, please let me know. Don't just suffer in silence. Make sure you're contacting me and asking me for help. You can send me a photo of whatever you're stuck on, and I can help you as soon as I can. Anyway, best of luck.